People with access to generational wealth, or I should say maybe generational support, even at moderate levels, they see someone not doing everything, even when they're well-meaning. They see someone not doing everything they can to move forward and get ahead as a moral failure, because they don't understand that it's not a moral failure for people in poverty. It's a physical inability, right? When you're poor, everything is more expensive. You have no one to lean on very often when you're poor. You have no sense of community. You have no resources, financially, physical, or otherwise. And so they'll look at you as though, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you going to college? Why don't you just... It's like you're telling the person that takes the bus everywhere, why don't they go to school, when not only does it take them 11 hours to go round trip to work, right? Between taking the bus to and from work, they've got to take the bus to the grocery store. They've got to take the bus to the laundromat. Why don't you just buy a washer and dryer? Because they only make enough money to be able to afford to wash their clothes at the washing machine, not enough to put them away to buy. Like, they don't understand how their access to that support system that they have permits them to do things that other people quite literally can't do. I had an...
Yeah, he's right, but I have to be honest. Life isn't fair, but that's life. Just because the person, living in poverty, life is harder, doesn't mean that they, could go to college and get, things easier, because they live in poverty. No matter what type of life someone is living, everyone has to start at the same place and finish at the same line. See, I come from poverty. I come from nothing. I didn't have absolutely nothing. I started from the bottom. I was living in my car at one point in time. I didn't complain. I had to live in my car until I got my first contract when I started my business. I had no choice. I had to do what I had to do. Did I look for people to understand, like, hey, man, I didn't have the same privilege that you have? Let me let y'all know a story. So when I first started my business, there was somebody else who started their business at the same time I did, who came from the same company I came from, right? And it was a home health company. He was a white guy, just being honest. So we started at around the same time, and in about 3 months, he was able to go and get a $200,000 loan and have something to start his business with and get it off the ground. It was hard for me to even get a business bank account. If I even asked for a loan, I got laughed at. I didn't get nothing handed to me. And he had privileges that I didn't. But that's life. Did I complain? Nah. I just worked 10, 20, 30 times harder. And one day I was at a MAPS meeting. That's a meeting where a lot of people go to basically meet others who are in the industry to like exchange contacts and build, right? We was at the same MAPS meeting, and he noticed that I now had business and I had things going on and the company was growing, and he was in shock. He was like, how did you do it? I looked at him and I said, how did you do it? Same way, brother. I just had to work differently, but I'm here like you here. You get what I'm saying? I didn't say, well, man, you had privileges. I didn't, and I did it this way. Nah. How did you do it? No matter what, I'm here. So I'm basically just saying this to sum it up and say, it don't matter where you come from. Don't complain, man. Just get up and do what you got to do. Move forward. Run if you got to. Just don't complain because somebody had a better start than you did. Just get up and go.
Ex-girlfriend telling me about how, like, oh, you should just go do this. You should just go do this. And it's like I hadn't just read the right self-help books or whatever. And I'm like, you don't understand that when your parents pass, you inherit a generational wealth amount of money. When my mom dies, I'm going to get a $10,000 bill from the state. That's the difference between you and me. So you get to fail over and over and over again right now, and that even should you choose to, if everything goes south for you, you get to coast into old age. There are going to be people in their 60s and 70s working at McDonald's because they don't want to starve. Now, you are afforded the luxury to get to do things And that's why you believe it's a moral failing. Other people don't have that luxury. They have to do things. And so what a lot of times they end up doing is they're like, well, why aren't you doing these extras, these accessories to go get further? And they are only doing the requisites they can to stay alive for one more day. And too many people with privilege, even when they're well-meaning, they can't comprehend the difference.
So please, please, please like and comment on this video. I would highly, highly appreciate it with all of my heart. And subscribe to the channel. You know, I'm on a quest to lead others to Christ. And if you want to be a part of this journey, hey, come on, you know, let's do it together, man. I think that this is something that I started for all of us, not just myself. So, hey, come on and join your boy, you know, and let's make some great things happen. So, look, man, I mean, again, I understand where he's coming from, right? But I prefer to not let what he is saying become a crutch for people who come from nothing. You know, I would tell people who come from poverty, don't use coming from poverty as an excuse. Please don't. And if you don't have what the next person got because your parents don't have money or you didn't, you know, get left anything, then go out there and fight for what you want. You know, and if your parents got it, I mean, use it to your advantage. Everybody's situation is different. You know, I remember I told my little brother, never feel sorry that you had more privileges than I did when I was your age. You know, because, you know, my mom, when I was his age, was poor. You know, when I was younger, we didn't have nothing. But she was more successful in your childhood. So take advantage of it. You know, I would be more upset if you didn't take advantage of the advantages that you have, period. Because generational wealth isn't something to be ashamed of. That's what we're supposed to be building. You know, if I worked my entire life to put my children in a better position and then they apologize for having opportunities, you know, I didn't have, I'm looking at them like, bruh, I did this for you. But my message for anyone is don't feel sorry for yourself. It isn't going to help you, and no one is coming to save you. Trust me on that. That's the uncomfortable truth. Life isn't fair. Some people start on third base. Some start in a parking lot, you know, and can't even find the dang stadium. But wherever you start, you still have to move. If you really want it, you know, work 10 times harder than the person who has an advantage. And eventually you will notice yourself catching up to him like the fastest runner running that last leg on a bad team. You know what I'm saying? Just keep moving forward. And this is where my faith comes in. You know, James 2:17 says, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. Pray absolutely. But after you pray, get up and work, learn, build, save, create relationships, develop your gift, break whatever cycle you were born into. And Deuteronomy 8:18 says, it is God who gives us the ability to produce wealth. So if God blesses you enough to build something, don't just buy stuff. Build something your children can stand on. That's how poverty starts ending in families. You get what I'm saying? Somebody eventually has to say, it stops with me. Maybe your parents couldn't leave you generational wealth. Fine. It is what it is. Become the generation that creates it. You know, don't spend your whole life angry at somebody whose parents, you know, gave them a head start. Run your race, bruh. You know, use what God gave you. Work harder. Become wiser. And build so aggressively that your children don't have to start where you started, man. You know, you may have, you know, been born into poverty, but poverty doesn't have to become your inheritance, you know, or your identity or your children's future. That right there should be the lesson. Don't complain. Don't hate what somebody else have. Don't envy what somebody else have. Don't let it make you mad. If they come and say, why are you not doing this? And you like, hold up, you got generational wealth and I don't say nothing. Just say, you know what? Catch me in about a year. I got you. Because I'm going to run faster than you ever ran. Just go out there and do your thing. And I'm going to leave it there. It's your boy, Paul P. Thanks for watching. Love you all. I'm out of here. Deuces.